Please join me in warmly welcoming PDG Rotarian Tom Gump. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Past President, for that wonderful introduction. And it's so wonderful to be here with the members of Rotary of Bangalore Prime. And it's an honor to have District 3190 Governor Satish, middle name Excellence Monthaven, and Club President Haresh, and past Charter Club President Mohan. 1,500 people in a year as a goal for membership increase is amazing. And even more amazing, you have 500 in just 2 months. So let's consider all protocols being observed. And I would like to talk to you about my all-time favorite subject, and that's growing Rotary membership. So I do attend the Rotary Membership Growth Committee meetings and spend a lot of time actually looking into the current trends. And I want to go over also some opportunities, and hopefully together we can reach that goal of having all those members, those wonderful members, our new 1,500 members. So can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So at the end of the year, we took our Rotary year goes until obviously June 30th. And we took a look at the numbers. And what we found out is at the end of the year, so at July 1, we had 1.1 million Rotarians. That's about a 19,000 loss since July 1 of the previous year, 2023. And Rotaractors, we are down to 115,000. When it comes to clubs, we have 36,000 clubs, and we have about 8,800 Rotaract clubs. Now we have 26% women in Rotary and 46% in Rotaract. Now it's interesting. About 10 years ago, we hit our peak when we were at 1.4 million. And for the last 10 years worldwide, we have been going down. But I can tell you, it's not because of India. When you look at the world, basically the Northern Hemisphere, this is a gross overgeneralization, but the Northern Hemisphere is pretty much losing clubs faster than they're forming clubs. And the Southern Hemisphere, other than New Zealand, the islands around it, and Australia, are actually growing. Now we are in the midst for President Mario for next year of choosing members for the membership committee. And I've been instructed that I need to choose someone from India, which I think was a wise choice by President President-elect Mario, because if you want to look how to grow, look to the areas of the world that are growing. And Asia and specifically India are growing. So if you look at where we start a year and where we finish a year, it's interesting because we basically bring in, as you can tell here, about 190,000 members. But we lose we brought in exactly 167,000 new members. That's great. We attracted them. But like the DG said, we lose more than we bring in. That's 170,000 we lost last year. And what's most concerning is where we're losing them. We actually lose about 10% of our members in the first year that they join. And we actually lose close to 50% of our members in our first 3 years. After 3 years, they're Rotarians like all of us, and we would never lose them because they have their friends in Rotary. They're engaged with their projects, and they have a great time. But before we get started, when talking about membership growth and how do we do it, I want to ask you the question, why do we want to grow? It's interesting because sometimes people say Rotary is a membership organization. Some say Rotary is a service organization. Well, the reality is we are a membership organization that does the world's best service. I know we're a membership organization because our Code of Policies in Article 5 says we're a membership organization. But people don't join just to join. they join to be engaged. They join for multiple reasons, but most of them stay to do service projects. So why do we want to grow Rotary? We want to have more hands and hearts to do service. This is a picture of President Stephanie and I recently in the Philippines, where they dedicated 250 homes for people who didn't have homes. And that's one reason I'm so honored to be here virtually in India, because you do so many projects and so many great projects and serve so many people. It's just an honor to be with Rotarians with as much passion as you have. So, how do you grow Rotary? There's actually only 3 ways to grow Rotary. The first one, and the district governor talked about that, is attracting members. We actually have to ask members to join. 90% of our members join because they have been asked to join a club. Of course, when they join, we have to tell them all about our club, but we also have to tell them about Rotary India. We have to tell them about fellowships, and we have to tell them about Rotary action groups and our council on legislation. And the governor mentioned our International Assembly, all of which you can join. Even if you're not on the governor track, you could be a paid observer to those. So first way is to attract them. Then what the governor talked about is we have to engage our members. If we want to retain our members, it's no good to bring in 1,500 members into 3191 unless we keep those members. So how do we do that? We engage them. Maybe we get them on a committee as soon as they join, or we do wonderful service projects. And the last way we grow Rotary is to form new clubs. And we talked a little bit about that. If you are growing clubs, you are growing. If you're losing clubs and not starting new clubs, you are losing. So we grow by both bringing members into our current clubs and forming new clubs. But wrapped around all of these 3 areas is something we call the club experience. And the club experience affects everything we do. The club experience is basically how things work in a club. So members of Rotary Bangalore Prime are doing well because you have a good club culture. And you know you have a good club culture because you're growing. You're doing service projects. People are happy. And when they're happy, they're bringing their friends. How do you know if your club culture is not good? It's not a good club experience. Well, you can tell because people will be leaving. And they won't be growing and they won't be engaged. But if you have a good club experience, it actually helps you attract new members. If you're doing fun service projects, having fun socials, having great district conferences in 3191, then people want to join. People will be happy, they'll stay, but they'll also bring in their family members and friends and people they worship with or work with. And also, if you have a good club experience, it's easy to engage your members. They want to be a part of the club. They come to all the service projects. They come to those socials. And then if your club ever wants to form a satellite club or form a new club, having a positive club experience in your area will actually help that. So these are the insights that I've gained that I feel that actually break down into these 3 areas. There is an insight for attraction, there's an insight for engagement, and there's an insight for new clubs. So there really is an opportunity to grow by attracting females and diverse members into our clubs. You know, right now, you saw the statistic, it's only 26% female. If we would bring in more females, obviously would grow. And the other thing is we have an international leads program. And this is going to be an opportunity because right now the leads program is only netting about 10%. What do I mean by that? Someone will go to Rotary International's website and they'll look for a club in India, but only 10% of them worldwide actually end up joining a club. And a lot of times it gets stuck in the district and never gets assigned to a club. Rotary has been working with Workforce to come up with a computer program that actually asks the individual certain questions about what they like to see in a club in their area. And in a couple months, and no longer would those leads go to the district, they'll actually go to a specific club. And we feel like that's going to really help join. So that's another thing that we can talk about also. Again, the engagement is a huge deal. Only 10% of our members after 1 year of coming in, 10% of our members leave within that first year. And when they leave because they didn't have a good club experience. So they might say things that are negative about our club. So we need to engage people. When they come in, we need to make sure that they have something to do. Maybe have a class project if you bring someone in together. Or as I said before, maybe assign them to a committee. Or maybe just move them around the club to sit at different tables so they get to know other people. And if they stop coming to meetings, call them up and ask them why. Forming new clubs. This is interesting because, the average club size back 20 years ago was about 60 some. Now our average club size today is only 31. So why is that? We talked about this club experience. We talked about the club culture. Sometimes it's hard to change a culture. There's areas in the world like Thailand that very much respect their elders. So they don't like to make changes in a club. So what they do is they actually form new clubs. And why do they do that? Because they want to make sure that the culture actually matches with what our members want. If, Rotary is like any other business. If we give our members what they want, they're happy, they stay. If we don't give them what they want, if we have a culture that doesn't get what they want, then they leave. So forming a new club allows us to keep our clubs. And I'm not saying every club needs to be a new club. I'm in a traditional legacy club, and I've started clubs since I've joined that club, and I would never leave my club. That's where my friends are. But when I was president of my club, I actually brought in 31 people into my club as new members. But I asked more than 31 to join, but some of them couldn't join because they were taking their children to school in the morning, or they had a job they couldn't leave, or they didn't like the cost of a fixed cost meal because we're at a breakfast club that meets at a country club. So these new clubs, we can reach out to potential people of action and say, what do you want to do? How do you want to serve? How would you create a club that fits your needs? It might meet at a different time than my club. It might meet at a different place. It might only do service projects instead of having business meetings. So the new clubs allow us to reach those people who don't fit into our clubs currently. So unfortunately, most districts have not formed a club within the last 5 years. So 20% of our districts have not formed a new club in the last 5 years. That's a concern. We need to think about forming new clubs. Now, the membership leads program. We actually have 20,000 a year that come into Rotary and 10,000 a year that come into Rotaract. The new people who are trying to join Rotary, 61% of them are under 40. It's interesting because we talk about we want younger people in our clubs. Well, if we get our leads program done, we will have that. 35% are female. And remember, the international average is 26. So the new members who are looking to join us are more diverse. We just have to make sure that we get them in and not just let them fill out a form in the computer and not call them or return their calls when they reach out to our clubs. So again, 10.6% conversion rate. That new program will help us with that. Okay, so when it comes to attrition, again, we need to engage our members. If we're losing 10% of our newcomers in the first year, that's not acceptable. What we have to do is we have to make sure they're involved. And if they want to start a different service project and that would involve them, let them start a different service project. Now, a new member engagement campaign. Rotary International is working on coming up with a series, almost like a drip campaign, where when a new member joins, every few months they'll receive a short little email that tells them something about Rotary. Maybe it's about the history of Rotary or how they can get involved outside their club. So if a club forgets to have a new member orientation or doesn't give enough information to that new member and they leave because they don't know a lot and all the opportunities and value they can get, this will actually help with that. And again, it'll be doing almost like a small survey to the new members in some of those emails. And let's talk a little bit about some of the tools that Rotary has that we can actually use. Rotary has a series of assessment tools or survey tools. And now, why is a survey important? Rotary International says we should have a survey once a year. And why once a year? Well, you think about it, we have new members joining, and then we have other members who are leaving. So after a year, that culture has changed. So if we want to know if our members are happy, we simply have to ask them. Now, you can go to Rotary International or you can Google Rotary membership assessment tools, and there's different kinds of surveys. There's surveys for your board of directors. There's surveys for your members. Both are good. If you have a large club, because I know we have some district members here, you may want to consider using an electronic survey. And you can take the verbiage of one of these assessment tools in Rotary, and you can put it into your own program, your own Survey Monkey or some other program, and make it to what you think your club needs to know. If you have a small club with only a dozen people, you can just pick up the phone and you could call them and ask them, do you like where we meet? Do you like when we meet? Do you like our service projects? Are there other service projects you'd like to do? Do you like our socials? And it's interesting because some club presidents are afraid to do an assessment because they feel that they don't want to find out what's wrong with the club. But when you do an assessment, you do a survey, there's only about 5% of the individuals who say they're dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. But when you drill down as to why they're dissatisfied, it turns out that it's a simple problem. It's easy to fix. A lot of times it's, well, we meet at noon and that works for me, but others it doesn't work for, and they'd rather have a morning meeting. If you find that out, what you can do is you can actually have a satellite club and let them be part of your club and let them meet at a different time. And it's interesting, if there's a problem in your club, recently I had a club president who told me that his club, about half of them wanted to do away with the four-way test and the other half wanted to keep the four-way test. So he wanted to know what to do. I told him he should do a survey. And it was a club of about 20 members. Most of them responded to the survey. It turns out that only 2 of them didn't want to like the four-way test and want to do away with it. It's just they were the vocal minority. So a lot of times a survey, you can go back to your members and you can say, okay, the majority of our club decided they wanted to do this. So why is this so important? Well, we talk about that club culture. And of course, a survey can give you the way to change that the club will like it. But also just having the survey, the members feel like they're being listened to. They have buy-in. If you actually do a survey and they suggest something, that buy-in will help you make that change, and they will feel good and they will have higher satisfaction, which will make them stay. And then it's another circle. They'll bring in more members and things like that. It's interesting. There was a president-elect training seminar here a few years ago in my area. And for the last exercise of the day, I just went around and asked every president-elect, what's the one change you're going to make sure that your present year is good? Some people had some really great ideas. Some were very ambitious and big ideas. But there's one gentleman named Troy, and he said he wanted to have pie for dessert. He was a lunch club. He didn't like dessert. He wanted to have pie. And so a lot of people laughed at that. I laughed too. But I ran into Troy a few years later, and I asked him if he got his pie, and he did. But it's interesting because he said that making that one suggestion, that one change, and people liked it, people started coming to him with other changes, first small and then larger changes. And it's interesting because they went from a club that didn't want to change at all, they were not innovative, to having a culture of innovation. And now they've grown to be the second largest club in that district. So that's just one example of how surveys can actually work. And then, of course, forming new clubs. And the thing about forming new clubs is you have to know it's not difficult, and there's people to help you. You have your assistant governors, you have your governors, you have your regional coordinators, your assistant regional coordinators, you have membership staff. And we could do a whole program on growing clubs too, if that's of interest to you. But what it does is it serves as a magnet to bring in other people to Rotary. You think about it, look at all the great projects your club does with its local grants and its district grants. And now we have grants of scale. If you go to your community in Bangalore and say, would you like to start a Rotary club? What would you like to do your service projects on? You can have them be attracted to Rotary because of those grants, and they could form a club and do what they want to do. My traditional club, I absolutely love it. We do things like we make sandwiches for the hungry. We rake leaves for people who can't do it. We pick up trash along the highway. But if I went to my 19-year-old son and say, hey, join my club, let's pick up trash along the highway, that might not get them excited. Why? Because these younger people, they have a passion to serve, but usually it's in one area and they want to focus in that one area. So when we have these new clubs, we could have them around what I like to call cause-based clubs. So they can focus on the environment, or they can focus on ending human trafficking. And they can, I wish one day I just woke up and said, okay, I'm going to start a club to end human trafficking. It didn't work that way at all. What happened was we had 3 districts, my districts, and the one to the east and the one to the north, and they had a program that was working on this. But the 3 leaders of that program came to me and said, Tom, we're quitting Rotary. And I said, what? You can't quit Rotary. Why would you quit? They said, we're not a club, so we can't do projects. We're not a district, so we can't do projects. All we can do is go to these clubs and ask to speak, and we might get to speak at that club once a year. And they want to focus on this one area, ending human trafficking. So we started that club, and now there's a dozen other clubs like it around the world. And it was interesting when we were doing the swearing in ceremony. I got an email after that from the then sitting Rotary International president, Mark Maloney, and he said that his sister had just joined that club. And that I had just sworn in his sister. And he said that he had tried to get her into Rotary for 40 years, 4 decades, but she was living in Istanbul. She was teaching during the day American history, and she couldn't go to a Rotary Club meeting, and she didn't want to focus on a lot of areas. She wanted to focus on this area of ending human trafficking. So that's just an example of how these new clubs could work. And it's interesting because the new clubs, especially if they're cause-based, those people are attracted to that cause, so they stay there longer. We said that a lot of our members leave 10% within the first year. But if they have a cause they're working on, and they're working with people who are like-minded or working on the same cause, they stay longer because they can share it. When we started our Veterans Club, most clubs around the world, people either work near their club or they live near their club. Well, when we started the first ever club in the world to serve veterans, people were driving 2.5 hours to go to these club meetings. So sometimes that cause is a really strong magnet, and Rotary would be the best way for them to accomplish their goals of service. Because remember, a veterans club is not about being a veteran, it's about serving veterans. So we're all about the service. So let's talk about where the real opportunities lie. Okay, when it comes to attraction, we need to follow up with membership leads. That number one thing, attract members, get those 1,500 members into your district. We have to ask people, but we have to follow up on people who come visit and people that send us emails. Make sure that you have a membership team, not just one people. And I think what will really help next month when we start the new leads program, I think that'll help you reach your goal of the 1,500. Engaging, we got to make sure that we get people engaged as soon as they come into the club. We can't wait to do it later. We have to make sure they're involved. How do we know that? Maybe we do an entrance survey, or we have a new member orientation where we ask them what they would want to do. I remember when I joined my club, they asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, we had a big 4th of July parade in our city. And I said, I want to work on that. And they said, well, that's not a Rotary project, but we can get you involved in it. So finding out what people want to do. They might not want to get involved with one of the current projects that you're doing, but they might head up a new project. And sometimes it's good for our members to circle through projects, because sometimes we get kind of dull when we do the same projects again. Sometimes it's good to do new projects. And then forming New clubs. Again, that's something that people don't think about. It's interesting. I'll tell the district governor this. If you haven't formed a club in 5 years and you first form that new club, there's a little hesitation when you form your first new club. Why? Because people are saying, well, that's going to cannibalize the other clubs in that area. Now, I heard that so much. I went to Brian King, who's our head staff person for membership growth at Rotary International, and I asked them to do a study. And they did a study. And over the last 5 years, the charter members of new clubs, 88% were new to Rotary. So, that 12%, they could have been like the three people in the End Human Trafficking Club who were going to quit Rotary, but we formed a new club. So it's really been proven false that a new club will actually cannibalize an old club. It just doesn't work that way. Rotary fits for the people it fits for, and sometimes we need to form a new club for the people who don't fit in a current club. Okay, so there's a number of initiatives that are going on, and Rotary International is pushing that's really going to help us grow in membership over the next few years. Of course, discussing the club experience. And you think about it, when someone joins Rotary, they know a lot about your club. They don't know about the other things. So, we have to have a positive club experience, but if someone leaves, maybe you want to form a district-wide E-club. So when someone isn't happy with a certain club in your district, they can go to the E-club. And maybe you can call the members of the last few years that have left and ask them to join your new club. We're talking about different ways that we can go in and partner with different groups to hopefully grow our membership by including their membership. We have a new Rotaract strategy going on. I've told you about the new Leads program. And then we have a few nurturing campaigns, both for new clubs and existing clubs. So those are kind of the things that you'll be seeing in the future from Rotary International. But of course, my favorite part of any of presentation is listening to what your questions are and answering those, because I want you to leave with the knowledge you came seeking. So please ask questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Tom, for your lovely insights, and thanks for your time. And it was inspiring. I would request Mohan to kindly moderate the Q&A.
Thank you, President Harish. Tom, that was a really inspiring thing on how do we bring in the members and create that club experience so that we can engage them and then look at bigger, better, and bolder projects or activities at Rotary. Thank you very much for that. It was inspiring. So a lot of people have sent in their questions. I have jotted it down, and probably we can take our 4 or 5 questions depending on how do we go through the process. So I would start with, there's an excellent question on what are the opportunities of growth if Rotary expands its reach and impact our communities, and how can they be integrated into our membership initiatives? Because it is focusing on expanding the reach, and they're trying to look at it from a community service perspective. So how can we integrate this into our membership initiatives?
I love that question. Rotary has a vision statement, and that vision statement says, together we, and that's the key. It's all of us together. Rotary is us working together. Together we see a world where people unite to take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. So the words that are being used in this question, the impact, the expanding our reach, those are the action plan priorities that are part of that vision statement. And it's true. When it comes to impact, what we need to do is, and we're getting better at this. You think about it, we had the club grants, then we had the district grants, then we went to global grants, and global grants focused on doing the needs assessment in the beginning and then measuring the impact at the end. That measurement of impact is really important. So when we do things such as going to Honduras to build a well, it's not just the outcome, which is building the well. It's the impact, and that impact is taking the infant mortality rate from 82% of our babies dying in that village down to 25% because we actually did that. And, polio's a great example. Remember when Ian Risley said, plant trees? Planting trees is important. We need that number of trees, but the impact that we need that we can share with future partners and future members is the deforestation that has been stopped or the air quality that's gotten better. So that's what we need to focus on in that. And expanding our reach, obviously, we need to go out in our communities and we need to bring more people into Rotary. And it's interesting. You can actually look at your club and look at what members you have and what members you don't have. It's interesting. I came up with a little technique when I was president. And what I did with my board is I said, let's go through the alphabet. And, let's find a member for every letter. So we said, A, do we have an accountant? Do we have an architect? B, do we have a banker? And if we didn't have a banker, we reached out, we brought in a banker. And we got all the way to L's, and we got a librarian and a landscaper. And then my year was over. But, just come up with a way to expand our reach by bringing new people in. But thank you very much for the question.
Okay, I completely agree with you. But in the context of India and South Asia, we see a lot of dilution where there's no focus on classification principle. Correct. So because we're just in a hurry, we want to bring in, and there's always a question mark on cost-based clubs, etc. Asking the question, is the classification still relevant in the era of cost-based clubs, etc.? What's your take on this, Tom, from a membership attraction perspective?
Well, I'm very, very glad that we've actually done away with classifications. I tried to join Rotary in 1996. I was an assistant district attorney in my town, and my boss was the law enforcement classification in Rotary. So it took me 17 years to join Rotary from that point to I moved to a new city because they wouldn't let another law enforcement person be in Rotary. So I'm glad the classifications are gone. I was thinking more of it doesn't matter how you look at your community, just make sure that you reflect your community and you have a way of bringing new people in. I just like that letter game because it made us consciously make an effort to think about who isn't in. There's other ways to do it. We can say, Mohan, what relatives of yours aren't in Rotary? Or what are we missing in this club that are in other clubs? And there's other ways to do it. But I'm glad we don't have restrictions on classification anymore. And I think that'll help us grow.
Sure. Thank you for that. I think this is a very important question. This is on the youth engagement. So they are asking, what are the strategies do we deploy to engage more youth into Rotary through probably Rotaract or Interact? And the next question to this, I think this is very important. How can we effectively transition Rotaractors to Rotarians to ensure the continuity in the organization?
Thank you very much for that question. It's a very important question. And, different areas of the world have different views of Rotaract. My personal and Interact and Early Act. But let's focus on Rotaract first because a lot of it applies to others, and then we'll go into the others. I see Rotaract as an investment in our future. When we first made the decision to elevate Rotaract from a program to an actual membership type, certain things were done. And, Rotaractors, a lot have been done for Rotaractors in the last few years. They can now serve on district committees and chair district committees. They can serve on international committees. They can't chair international committees. Rotaract clubs can now apply for global grants by themselves without a sponsoring club. They can start their own club or satellite club without that. They cannot serve as district governors, which means they can't serve as directors. So we've given them a lot, and they have given us back a lot. I was on with John Hannes, who's the head Rotaract person on staff, because I was speaking to a Rotaract group in the Philippines, and he said that last year they contributed $390,000 to the foundation, to the Rotary Foundation. Now, right now, from a cost benefit analysis, and you don't hear this often, but it actually takes more money to run the Rotary program than we actually get in dues currently. But why am I so high on Rotary and Rotaract as a membership type, even though that's the case? It's because it's the investment in our future. So this leads me to the answer your question. How do we make the transition? How do we get Rotaractors to join Rotary clubs? And it's interesting because the answer, a lot of this takes care of itself when we make our clubs irresistible. We talked about club culture. When we get a good culture, people want to be a part of it. People see the fun we're having. People see the service projects we're doing. They see the youth exchange students, young people coming from another country to come live with you in your home, and then they ask about it. The same is going to be true with our Rotaractors. If we make our projects at our clubs attractive, they're going to be in Rotaract for a good number of years, but then they're going to want to join a Rotary club when the time is right for them, but only if we make those clubs attracted to them. So maybe we do a survey of the Rotaract club and ask them what they would like to see in a Rotary club and what would make them leave a Rotaract club to graduate to a Rotary club. My son is starting a Rotaract club in Duluth, Minnesota. I'm in the middle of the U.S. just below the Canadian border, and he's a couple hours north of me. But he is reviving a club with some help of some past district governors from that area that died during COVID. The club just went away. And they're having a good time with it. And that club is interesting because they're doing things that I never thought of. Their main event in spring, which is going to be their annual event, is they're going to do a TED Talk at the university. And they do fun stuff like bowling and a pizza and all that stuff. But I'm thinking you can be a Rotarian and a Rotaractor. I'm thinking about joining his club, even though it's a few hours north, just to find out what it's like to be a Rotaractor so I could better answer your questions. But I think if we make the Rotary clubs attracted to them, they'll join. Interact the same way. When I do, I was talking about that Honduras service project. That was really a service project I went on, and I thought it would be fun to go to the Interact clubs. And, some of them in the U.S. are small, 20, 30 people, but you go in there and you tell them about a project. And I went to tell them about that project, and they went to a local Chipotle, which is a Mexican restaurant, kind of like a fast food Mexican restaurant. And they volunteered their time for 2 nights, and they raised $800 US dollars that they contributed to the project. They got every bit as much out of that project. They didn't travel there because that didn't fit with their schedule or their funds, but they contributed to that project. So we need, just like we need to engage our Rotary members, we need to engage our Rotaract members and our Interact members and Early Act. So hope that answered your question.
Oh, yes, it does answer my question. And as you rightly put it, it's not always about ROI, return on investment. Sometimes it is on, are we meeting the return on expectations? And that is what you give through the club experience.
Yes, sir.
So we have one question by Sudhakar. So he's asking that, yes, we see a downward trend globally in terms of membership. And are we doing some root cause analysis? And are there some formal tools like the exit interviews, etc., that like that? And how structured is that whole process?
So the membership committee has just formed subcommittees, Expand Our Reach, and several others to look at this and the root causes. We do an annual all-member survey where we ask people why they leave, and we do percentages on that. And it's interesting because the further you dive down into the numbers, the more interesting it gets. There are some root causes and some generalities where some areas of the world, I'm in North America, and we are declining in membership. We're also declining in middle class. I loved what your governor said about the demographics are on India's side. The economies on India's side. You look at other areas of the world, Jamaica, it's in North America, but it's got a growing middle class. So if you have a growing middle class, it helps. Why Rotaractors leave is different than why Rotarians leave. So Rotaractors need good leadership. We need good presidents of the club, more so than we do even in Rotary clubs, because those younger people are looking for mentoring opportunities. They're looking to rub shoulders with people of significance in their field. If we don't have that mentoring going on, and they can't see their careers advancing, that's a little bit more important. So different reasons. And again, if you want me to come back and do an hour on that, I could do an hour on that. But there are studies of the root causes. But what we need to do is we need to form new clubs to reach out to members who aren't a part of us. And that'll help us grow. I mean, every time I flew into Mexico, just one last thing and I'll move on. I flew into Mexico to go to REMAX that have 10 districts together. And when you fly in at night, you see all these lights. I'm always like, all these people, why can't we get more people into Rotary?
True.
And I think it's because, and this is what the numbers show out, they don't like our current club experience or how we do it currently. But if we let them do it the way they want to do it, then it'll help. So that's why the new clubs help. Thank you for the question.
Got it. Thank you. So we have a question and also a suggestion from past President Murli. He is from the Rotary Club of Parampu, from RI District 3262. He's asking, right, why don't we recognize a Rotarian who's brought in a member, like a signed certificate for every member proposed, etc. So this way, you're able to motivate and incentivize, people to bring in more Rotarians. Has there been something similar going on as far as RI is concerned, thought process?
In the last 20 years, we had one uptick of 2,500 members, and that's when Shekhar Mehta from your area of the world was president. And he did so many things right in terms of membership. First of all, he talked about it. And it's important as leaders, as club presidents, as district governor, if you talk about membership and you let people know it's important, it's good. He also took the concept, and I'm getting to the answer of the awards. He also took the concept of membership committee and turned it on its head because he made it the responsibility of all Rotarians to bring in members as opposed to having a committee just one. But the other thing Shekhar did was he came up with an awards program, and it's called the Membership Society, and there's various levels. And if you bring in 50 members, active members into your club, you get your name on an electronic wall. And it motivated me to bring in members during my year. We need to do more of that. I think we actually need to get more RI staff helping us do with membership. We do such great work in our foundation. In the last few years, we've done wonderful work. But as we reached our big goal that we're stretching for now, we brought in more membership officers. Foundation officers. We need to bring in more membership officers. I would encourage you, and I will bring it back. Thank you for the question. I will bring it back to RI about recognition, because I really think, our lapel pins, our certificates, I think they help. But let's not wait until RI does it. Let's do it at the club level. Let's do it at the district level. We have a district governor in 3191 whose middle name is Excellence. So let's do the 3191 Certificate of Excellence for Membership Growth, and let's give it to those individuals. I can tell you when I was club president, you have to serve on the board a number of years before you're president. And I would sit through the board meetings, and it was always the same thing. We talk about, I loved them, but we talked about, reviewed the minutes, reviewed the financials, reviewed what's coming up next in terms of the next fundraiser. We never got to membership. When I was president, I put that at the top of the agenda, and we did that. And I was bringing in a lot of people, but I didn't have time to follow up with all of them because I was doing other things and working. So I would assign those people. If there was an older retired woman, I'd ask an older retired woman who's already a member to pair up with them and become buddies and take them out to lunch until it came through. If we as leaders make it important, other people will see it's important. After the first few months of serving as my club president, people would come up and say, "Hey, Tom, I'm bringing my sister-in-law. Hey, Tom, I'm bringing someone from work." They were proud because I was proud. So we need to model that behavior, and recognition is a huge part of it. Even at the club level, we can have a foam core board printed up with, these are the members. When I go to clubs and I say, okay, who's brought in a member recently? It's always like 2 members in a 20-member club. They're the only 2 working on it. And sometimes they're great at bringing them in, but they're not good at, spending time retaining them. So we need to all make membership our priority, and recognition helps. So thank you for that question.
I think, yes, that's the reason I think we moved away from the citation to the Club Excellence Award. So we're looking at excellence in everything. So that
Yes.
includes attraction and retention of members.
And
So
it
we have
covered
an interesting
that's what
question from-
1,500 members.
He's on his way to collect the awards. So we have an interesting question from Shrikant. But before that, I will add to it. We've been emphasizing a lot on flexibility. We've seen some pilot programs in Australia and New Zealand on the restructuring process. And we also see some pilot initiatives in Great Britain and Ireland, where we have things like the member direct, etc. So if you do have some initiatives, you have some insights into that, you can share. And the specific question by Shrikant to this is, can a person be a member in more than one club? There are many people who want to. What's your take on this, Tom?
Okay, a lot of questions there. Let me start with the most recent one, then I'll go back to the pilot projects.
Yeah.
Schraker, you're absolutely right. We need to have members in more than one club. Actually, I brought this to the last council legislation, and staff did not accept it. They thought it was too much effort to keep track of. If Mohan would give $100,000, is that from this club here, or is it from the other club he belongs to, and issues like that. But I know it can be worked out. And I tell you, a few years ago, I started a club. It's called Global Travelers. It's an e-club, and they now have 106 members. But it's interesting because 55 of them are registered with Rotary International. The others are not. They're associates of the club. So they pay club dues, but they're not paying Rotary International dues. They're happy to pay Rotary International dues, but you can't belong to 2 clubs. You can belong to a Rotary club and a Rotary club, but you can't belong to Rotary clubs. This is a mistake. This needs to be changed. And I'm going to bring it up to staff again, because now I didn't have this real life example when I first brought it forward, and I wasn't on the membership committee. So it was going through my district to try to get it to the floor. If you want to get things done, you really got to get it through a subcommittee, to a committee, to the directors, so that they support it, because sometimes it's hard to get something changed unless it goes that route. So I promise I will work on that, because we need it. Pilot clubs are going well. They report to the board once a quarter, and then they get funding for these projects. They're both a little bit different. Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland has a different governance structure than the rest of the Rotary world. That's just how they formed. So they were able to make changes quicker than Zone 8, which is New Zealand and the islands in Australia. Zone 8 is trying to take the hierarchy and flatten it out. So they don't really have a district governor or assistant district governors. They try to do it on a flat basis. The way Great Britain and Ireland's trying to do it is to have different models. They have an enterprise model, which hasn't been executed yet, but they want to go to a company, and they have one in Target that they might be able to do, where they say, okay, company, you join, have all your members join, or a large number of your members, and we will have a Rotary club just for your company. I love the idea. I hope it works. The other thing that they have is they have what they call the Hub, which is a electronic meeting platform. It's on Microsoft Teams as the software platform, and you can join Rotary without joining a club. And that might work for some folks. Some of us want to go to the weekly meetings and see our friends and have that camaraderie. Some people are okay with the other way. So those are the 2 major things going on. They just started within the last year. So there hasn't been, if you bought the numbers, there hasn't been significant increase. But the purpose of a pilot program, and the reason why Rotary International spends money on them, is so that we can learn both from the good things and the bad things. So hopefully a lot of learning will come from that. And I know Kamal from your area, who used to be chair of the Rotary International Growth Committee, he was always pushing to have a pilot project in India. Since India is doing so well in membership growth, let's learn what you all learn from your day-to-day action. So maybe we could do that in the future.
Sure. That's what our Rotary Leadership Institute Vice Chair, past President Vinod, whom we just said hello in the start of the thing, he keeps calling these people as a Rotary name only, the rhinos, who pay in their subscription but are not engaged in any manner as such. So the job of us is to probably convert these rhinos to Rotarians. Right?
Yes.
And that is where we have a huge task.
Yes. And we can do that through your wonderful service projects.
Thank you.
And the great thing about India is you do service projects large. You do 1,000 people you serve. It's just humbling and inspiring.
We have a question from Sujit from Rotary Bangalore, Agneya. So he says, like in business, Rotary too has competition locally. So there are many NGOs that are focused on cost-based clubs, and Rotary too is focused on this. But the local NGOs are more appealing to people, that's specifically the youth. So how do we address this particular issue? How do we reflect upon the internationality of Rotary?
So a lot of times younger people gravitate to organizations that are just starting. And the reason being is because they can have a culture that fits their needs. Sometimes our traditional clubs are a little bit not the way they want them to be. So I think we can approach the younger folks and say, how do you want to serve? And let us start a Rotary club or a Rotary club, and we can help you start it and you can serve the way you want to. If they don't want to have a fixed cost meal and they want to meet at a restaurant, let them meet at a restaurant. If they want to meet around a service project, let them do that. But I think we should look at the organizations that are successful and see what they're doing right. And we should emulate that because there's no reason why we can't change. I mean, that's the fourth action plan priority is the ability to adapt. And no organization succeeds. I mean, we've been around for 119 years and there's been changes, but we need to change more. We need to keep on changing. Because the people who are joining our clubs are changing. So let's see what those other organizations are doing and let's see if we can do it better.
Absolutely. I think that's the reason we see of late, there's a lot of collaboration with the other not-for-profits, be it the Kiwanis, be it the Lions. I'm talking about a global level. So when we talk about global citizens, etc., so all of us are collaborating together. So there is no competition here. We collaborate and then meet the need, and then we grow together. So we have a question by Governor-elect Sridhar. Sridhar, can you raise your hand so that they will unmute and then you can ask the question? Next, I would also ask Tanuja. All right, I can't see you in the frame over here, that you raise your hand so that our tech team will probably unmute you. And in the meanwhile, we also have Governor Dr. Suresh. He's from Rotary International District 3203. He's got a very valid point. A knowledgeable Rotarian will hardly leave Rotary. Hence, imparting Rotary knowledge is crucial.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Suresh, for that.
May I come in, Mohan?
Yes, Sir Sridhar, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, PDG Tom. This is Sridhar here, Governor-elect. One of the interesting statistics what you mentioned is 30% of the lead in Rotary.org is not followed up. I think that's a really concern for all of us. Is there any way we can improve on this, like sending the notification again from backend from Rotary International? I think with the technology what we have, probably RI can do something on the to address this issue. My question. Following up 66% of the leads. I think that's a big amount of membership. Probably if you address this issue, we can able to convert. That's my question.
Well, Governor-elect, thank you very much for asking that question. It is a huge opportunity that I think we can capitalize on. First of all, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Orlando second week in February for you'll enjoy that. It's a great experience. Yeah, you think about it, we're talking about membership, but the easiest people to ask to join are the people who are asking to join us. We have a saying in the US, I don't know if you have the saying in India, low hanging fruit. It's like easy to get to. Well, this is like fruit on the ground. I mean, they're asking to join us and we're not following up. And so we have done a series of studies to find out, assigning RMOs, Rotary membership officers, to certain districts who volunteered to be part of these studies to find out, why is it happening? Why are 66% not being followed up on? Now, it can be argued, and there's some validity to the point that maybe it's a little bit more than that number being followed up on, but they don't report once they join. And, you need to figure out how to make sure that the people who are saying they joined, that the district fills out the paperwork and does that. But in the vast majority of cases, what we found out is the leads were being assigned to one individual in the district, and a lot of districts just did not follow up on those individuals. They just did not. And it's interesting because in these studies, the RMOs would call these individuals. Some of them were 5 years. They haven't had any contact in 5 years, and they still were interested in joining Rotary. So we do believe that next month is the scheduled release date for the new version of the LEADS program. We feel this is going to be much better because it actually tries to pinpoint what this individual wants in a club, and then it gives that individual to 3 different clubs, and they can follow up. The individual can follow up with the clubs, or the clubs can follow up with the individuals. And we feel that district log jam of one individual being in control and not following up will be solved by this new platform. So we're hoping it'll get better.
I think one of my suggestion is like we have now membership engagement chair, membership attraction chair. Why don't we have a membership leads chair? Something like that probably also can help.
I think that's a great idea. Someone who, I've always felt that if you have one person responsible and his or her neck's on the line, they'll work on it. So I think a leads chair is so important. Yeah. And maybe a team to follow up on the leads that haven't been followed up on for the past few years. But you're going to be a good governor. It's a good talk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, do we have Tanuja with us?
Yes, Tanuja.
Yeah. In case Tanuja is available, Tanuja, over to you for your question. Okay, please go ahead.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Good morning, Tom. It was fantastic listening to you. So I was in Houston for 7 years. So my son was born there. So I'm really happy to hear that you're from Houston. So how is Walmart, Fiesta, and Costco? I used to enjoy that very much.
Wonderful.
I can't hear you. Yeah. So it's a very challenging for me to get members. Yesterday I asked my cousin, please join Rotary. It'll be very nice. You'll really enjoy. So she said, there's a lot of responsibility. It's very difficult for me to handle. So I don't know what to do. It's really very challenging since my club is a very small club. But I know you gave us a fantastic ideas. It was very nice. So I'm really facing challenges to get members. Yeah, that's my question.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's several insights we can take from that. First, there's the reputation that we are difficult, that it takes a lot of time. And we're talking about those all member surveys. People do rank the reasons they leave, and some of them say it's too many obligations, it's too expensive, it takes too much time. But if we could pinpoint a group of people who have the same reasons for not joining, maybe we can have them set up another club. We don't have to meet every week. We can meet once every 2 weeks. You could have a dinner club where they meet at a restaurant. You could have them do something that they like planting a garden or doing exercise, a bike riding club or something like that. If you can pinpoint how they want to do service, we can build a club around that, and we don't have to worry about all those rules. If for some reason they don't want to do the Pavlovian response of we do this with this PowerPoint every week, we could do a club that makes them happy. In North Carolina, they have something called the Impact Clubs, and it's basically a satellite club. And they, instead of meeting 4 times a month, they just meet twice a month. And these people don't meet at a fixed location. They meet to do a service project. So they might go distribute something at the homeless shelter or something like that. And they don't talk Rotary business. They only do those service projects. And it's growing well. The club that Stephanie's in, they added a couple dozen members just by having this Impact Club. So they didn't want to be a part of the regular Rotary Club. They want to be part of that. So maybe your friend or your cousin would like to do that.
Thank you, Tom. There's one question from Monica Mohan. Thank you for your wonderful insights, PDG Thomas. Request you to share some thoughts on how we can increase women membership at club levels.
How we can increase membership?
Women membership, as you already women membership.
I'm sorry, I'm having a bad connection here. Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, I'll do that, Harish.
Yeah.
So the question by Monica is, how can we increase the women membership?
Oh, okay. It's important that we do that. Let's face it. I'll tell you a little story about our Veterans Club. And it's to answer this question, how do we increase female membership? You know, we're always told that diversity in a club is important. But why is it important? Because it makes the club stronger, because we have different solutions and more creative solutions, because we have more brains thinking about it. You know, India is always going to be a success. And why? Because you have so many people and so many brains thinking about this. So when we started the Veterans Club, we were putting our officers together and we asked, you know, who wants to be president, who wants to be vice president, that kind of thing. And there were these two, they were both paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne, a military branch here in the US, and they wanted to be president, vice president. And their goal to grow was they were going to be the largest club in the district within a year, and they were going to grow this many members. So we had 2 female members. We had more than 2 female members, but we had 2 female members who were sharing the membership chair role. And one was named Kathy Army and one was named Kathy Navy, because one had served in the Navy and one was still serving in the Army. But their goal was to interview all the people who were considering joining this club to see if they would be a fit with the existing members. So it's interesting how, you know, the right answer was arrived at because we had that diversity of opinion. And if we didn't have Kathy Army and Kathy Navy, we might have just got a bunch of people in the club and it might not have been a good culture because they might not have meshed. So how do we get female membership? And it's important to do that. We know that now. How do we do it? We make our clubs attractive to females. You know, maybe we do things in a club that if you go to something that it just, if you have a club in the US and they just go to monster truck rallies, that might attract men. But if you have wine tasting and book clubs and things like that, that might attract women. So first of all, we have to ask women to join, but we have to make sure our club allows women to feel like they belong. If they feel like they belong, they will fit. There's no reason to bring in women or young people or whatever demographic and have them not feel a part of it and leave a month later. What we need to do is make sure our club is welcoming to females, and maybe have some events that are focused on females, make sure we have female leadership. And then we should be able to ask our female associates to join, and they will. And if you're worried that they're not going to feel comfortable, bring in 2 or 3 at a time. You know, we had a club up in Brooklyn Park, and they have a group called the Sassy Sisters. And I'm an honorary Sassy Sister, which means I get to go to their holiday party, and they bought me a pink polo shirt. But these were all spouses or partners of Rotarians of this club. And there are 11, 12 of them. They joined at the same time. And now they're doing great. They're running most of the club. They've always done a lot of work for the club, but now they're the leadership positions, which may be scary to some of us who don't like change. But I tell you, that club is doing well because of it. So if don't just bring in one female at a time, bring in a class of 2 or 3, because then they'll feel like they have people to talk to at your meetings and things to do with until you get the population to gender parity. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Tom, for that. And we will just take one more question. We have many lined up, but because of paucity of time, we'll not do that. So this question is to Kirti. Kirti, are you there? If you can unmute yourself. She's from a cause-based club, and I'm sure she's going to ask a question based on that. Over to you, Kirti.
Yeah, thank you, Mohan, for giving me the chance. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Please go ahead quickly.
Yeah, Tom, thank you on that perspective of getting women in the club, and as I'm here for this session. Yes, I have a question here that I'm an entrepreneur. So when you talk about membership and getting members in the club and getting into the attraction for this, because as you know, a lot of women entrepreneurs are nowadays very educated, independent, and working. They're mostly into business. So can we have a creation of business Rotary clubs like how we see in fellowship? So can we have more of this kind of clubs so that we can attract more women here? And
Absolutely.
also encourage them to, do a lot of work for leadership or giving to society or giving to the Rotary family.
When I first met my wife, she was in an investment club, and it was an investment club of only women. And each one was assigned every month. They'd have to get together, and they would be assigned a company, and they'd have to present on it. And I remember, I remember her coming home from her first meeting, and I said, "What did you invest in?" And she said, "We invested in Harley Davidson." And she went into all these, reasons why it was a good investment, and it ended up being a great investment. They made money off of it. But I can tell you, there was a woman from India, Sharmila, who got her batchmates. We call them high school classmates, but you call them batchmates. Got her batchmates together from her high school, even though it had been many years, and they formed a club. I helped a woman in Egypt who was a doctor form a club of Egyptian doctors, and they're practicing all over the world, but they were at one time associated with Egypt in some way, and they're all doctors. So there's no reason why we couldn't have a women's business club. And I really like that, because the clubs that I have been involved in to support women, we had a network. This is a long name, but they picked it. The Network for Empowering Women. And it was a great club, but it's interesting because it was always about serving the women. But now this will be a woman club for serving business and serving each other in that capacity. I like it. I think it'd be a great club.
Thank you. Yeah, because at the end, we have to get a lot of revenues.
Yes.
And women are good at that.
Yes.
You have to agree that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom, for that. It was wonderful interacting with you. I'll hand this over to President Harish. Over to you, President.
Thank you, Tom, for your patience, and the kind of answers what was given by you was simply amazing. And you all go with whatever answers we have got from you, and will be motivated and inspired. We all hope, as our district governor always says, membership is very important. During the year, we want to bring in more members into the club. We all are inspired by you. Thank you very much, Tom.